Welcome to Focus on the Candidates. I'm Cynthia Pooler. My guest today is Justin Ford, and Justin is running for Congress in Illinois, the 9th District, right?
That's correct.
And we're going to talk about AIPAC. So, I saw something on YouTube the other day that said that one of the candidates is getting a lot of money for AIPAC from AIPAC, but the AIPAC is changing their name so that people don't really know that it's AIPAC that are contributing to campaigns. So
Mm.
what's it like in your district? Is AIPAC is pretty powerful.
It's pretty fascinating if you've been paying attention to politics for a while. There is a large Jewish contingent in the district, um, in Skokie in particular, and obviously that would make you think that the AIPAC endorsed candidate would be what everybody's shooting for. And definitely that's how it's been in politics before: is don't mess with them. They'll take you out at the knees. But at recent forums, almost all except for that candidate who's been getting money from AIPAC has said they won't take money from AIPAC or affiliated groups or Jewish affiliated groups. So we're seeing a pushback in the Democratic Party saying we can no longer do this. And in my view, it's illegal. We're not allowed to take money from a foreign government. So it's one thing to say, hey, we want to support Jewish folks. I think that's 100% correct, and there's going to be issues that are there for them. But we can't have a lobbying group that's for another country. That's not allowed. And it doesn't matter if it's Israel or if it's Japan, if it's Angola, it doesn't matter. You can't allow foreign countries to influence our elections. And I think the Democrats are starting to see this, especially with what's going on in Gaza. And they're starting to push back, and we're starting to see kind of a revolt within the Democratic Party to say we're not going to accept this money anymore. Um, and it's becoming a liability to accept the money.
But AIPAC has been quite the contributor to politics in this country for a long
Yeah,
time.
since the 50s, yeah, they've been huge, and they can do so. You get like I think it's $7,000 per person limit, 3,500 in the primary and 3,500 in the general. If they're APAC, they can do $5,000. But if they just use their affiliate members, they can bring in hundreds of thousands of dollars. They bundle basically still. And so they can really swing a race. There's already $14 million in this race. Um, you're going to need some money, and that's a way to get it. And so the first this candidate, the first interview she did was with a Jewish newspaper, Jewish Insider, I think, saying she's going to be the pro-Israel candidate. I don't think, and this is just me. I mean, obviously the race is the race, and people can vote for who they want to. I don't want people who say, "Look, I'm going to, no matter what, support another country." We need people that say, "Hey, no matter what, I'm going to support the United States." You're a representative of the United States. You're not a representative of other countries. And there's other countries I have affinity for. There's other countries I care a lot about. But I'm still an American. You got to go America first. You don't say I'm the pro English candidate, or I'm the pro Indian candidate. No, you're an American, so that's what you need to run for. And I think people are seeing that, and that's what's nice to see, not just in the Ninth District, but you're seeing it other places. There's APAC trackers where they're trying to figure this out. There's ways that people are trying to shed light on this problem that we have in our politics, and try to fix it. And I really appreciate that, and I really appreciate all my competitors who, we were all at a forum. This person was not there. They asked specifically, "Would you accept APAC or money from other Jewish groups that are supporting Israel?" And we all, they said no. And obviously, some of us, or other foreign governments, I think that's what it said, not Israel. And some of us said, "Hey, that's illegal. You can't do that anyway." So um, it was kind of a nice moment, with all the Democrats agreeing, except for the one, obviously. that this is inappropriate. And it doesn't mean we shouldn't be fighting for our Jewish constituents and the Jewish people in this country. Obviously, anti-Semitism is still a problem. We still have to attack it as the problem that it is. But there's a big difference between being anti-Zionist and being anti-Semite. And an
Right.
anti-Semite, there's no business to be in here. I'm not pro or anti Zion. I think Israel needs to follow the same rules as every other country, and we need to support them in that as our country, and say, hey, you need to do better, And I'm not going to be pro any other country. Um, I'm going to let them stand on their own 2 feet, and then we can come through as their friends and say, you need to get better at this or this, or we can't support you in these endeavors. Um, doesn't mean that we reject the people from those countries. Just those governments need to get better before we're going to support them.
So how many candidates are running in the primary for your seat?
Um, in the Democratic primary,
Yeah.
there were 13 people so far that have filed with the state. The last day to file is today. There's 2 others that have been actively campaigning that that might join. They might not. And there's one person that hadn't even filed with the FEC. We have no idea who they are that already did. So they're part of that 13. We used to say there's 15 people actively running. Now is the time where you really have to show up and get your petitions in. Illinois has a very strict process that's kind of difficult to follow to get quite a few signatures, over 1,000. They have to be valid, and they get checked and all that stuff. You got to
Mm,
get those in by
mm.
today.
Like today. So has outside money been a big issue in the race for Illinois 9?
Yes, most of the money coming into the race is coming in from outside. Obviously, that's not too unheard of. There's people that are politically involved. It's kind of interesting in a race that will be a Democrat. So we have one of the leading candidates is a TikTok personality, and she can bring in money nationally. She has a national following, and she can do that. So she is bringing in money from other places, mostly small dollar donations. And then we do have some other candidates who have connections either in DC or around the country that are bringing in big dollars from that. And then we
Mm.
obviously have some of the local politicians who are tied into the apparatuses locally and can get money from that piece. We have 2 candidates so far that have raised over $1 million in this race, and several that are in the $500,000 range. I'm
So
not one of those.
so the candidates that have raised in the neighborhood of $1 million, has it been primarily small donors or
Well, for
big
one of them, it has
donors?
been the TikTok personality. The TikTok personality has right. She's got several I, I don't know if million, but so at least tens of thousands of followers that she's been cultivating for a while. And so she could reach out to those people. She knows a lot of people online, and she can get money that way. It's a way to do it. And she gets reasonably small donors, a lot of small donors. And then the other person who's raised over $1 million is more tied into the big money players that participate in politics in Illinois, and I think he gets a lot of his money from those folks. Although he gets a reasonable amount of small donors too, because he's been a politician in Illinois for a while, and so he has a lot of connections.
So the race for mayor in New York City has made national news. And in one of the debates, when there were a number of Democratic candidates, they were all asked, what's the first foreign trip you would make? And they all said Israel, except Mandami, who said, I'm staying right here. If I'm elected, I'm gonna, serve the people of New York City. So if Mandami wins tomorrow, does that is that a stab in the heart to AIPAC?
I think it's not going to be the end of APAC. I think that APAC is an intelligent organization. They're going to figure out how to find the places that they can be more successful. But I think APAC's stranglehold over the Democratic Party um, will be lifted, and if people like Mandami can show they can win even when everybody's fighting against them,
Hmm.
um, that'll give people a path. People were scared of APAC. I was scared of APAC when I joined the race. I thought, okay, how can I don't agree with anything they're doing, but I would prefer them not to come after me. So it's very nice that all of the Democrats agree. So now we can just like lay into it, right? We can be very frank with what we think. Um, because there's concern that APAC can target you, and I don't have the resources to defend myself from an organization that's as powerful as APAC, like and try to run a race. You just can't do it. So I think Mandami showing that there's a path. I think very likely the APAC candidate will not win. There's a lot of people running, a lot of good people. She might, but very likely she won't. Um, somebody else will because there's so many of us, anyways. Like odds are, um, if more and more people, if APAC has a more and more of a losing record, especially within Democratic politics, big D Democratic, then I think you're going to see them change their tact a bit, and maybe we'll have a more coherent policy when it comes to Israel. You know,
So if Mandami wins tomorrow, is it going to affect the fundraising capacity of the person that is receiving APAC money now?
I don't think so. People will be scared and they will want more stuff. I am assuming that for the people in it is astounding to me that somebody that's running for mayor of a very important city in the world and in the United States, but a city. He's going to be the mayor of a city. Um, they ask them foreign policy questions as if
Mm.
somehow they're going to impact foreign policy, maybe in divestment policies, but for the most part, Mandami's been right to be focused on his constituents, and that's what we need to be. So Illinois 9, we need to be laser focused on what our constituents need and what's important to them. And then I think that you're going to see that some people are going to be very concerned about the loss of influence that the Israeli lobby has in our politics and double down on some of these candidates. Um, and so I think she will continue to fundraise rather well, even after this race. It's not going to be until it becomes a futile effort, that people will slow down, and that's not going to be this election cycle.
Well, who's to say what's going to happen tomorrow? And
That's true.
and the impact that will be made nationwide if Mandami wins.
Yeah, I think I, as someone who does not live in New York City, I love New York City. Great, great city. I like Chicago more, but I like New York City. Um, New York City is not the United States. As much as I like it, any more than California is the United States, right? Or Texas or Florida, right? It will have an impact. I'm more interested in the governor's races, to be very frank, than in who's going to be the mayor of New York City. Mandami, the sad thing about Mandami, the most sad thing, he's an amazing politician. I really have enjoyed his campaign. He's done an excellent job. Not being a U.S. citizen really caps where he can get to in the United States, right? Um, and so that's the sad thing. Not being naturalized. I shouldn't say he's not a U.S. citizen. He's a U.S. citizen, but not being naturalized and not born a U.S. citizen. Um, and so I think that blunts a lot of what could have been for Mandami if he had been lucky enough to be born here, or unlucky enough, depending on how he looks at it. I think that he would have a very he'd be a front runner for president. I think if he won, um, at least one of the people that could run for president in 3 years.
Right.
Um, and I think that's the only unfortunate thing, and that's the thing that blunts Mandami's approach. We have a very progressive mayor in Chicago. Most people don't know about it. Most people don't talk about it, and he sometimes makes the news. But but yeah, it's not. I think once Mandami has to start running the city, it, he's gonna have things that work out for him, things that don't. City's very complicated, and most people in the country will stop paying attention because the novelty will be done, and he'll just get down to governing, which is what he wants to do, which is good.
Right,
And if he's
right.
successful, then they can say, "Hey, look, these are the policies that are successful," and that's what he can move forward with. It. These are the sorts of policies that are successful. And I think that'll be good. I think it's an exciting thing. What's great about this country is we can try different things.
Mhm.
New York City can try something, and if it works well, maybe Chicago copies it. Works well in Chicago, maybe Cleveland copies it, right?
Right.
Like this is a great system that we have where we can take something and give it a shot. And I think it's very brave of New York. It's very brave, very amazing for Madami to be able to push this agenda, say, hey, look, we need to go a different path. I think it's fantastic, and I really I'm rooting for him. I'd like to see him win. I don't think it'll have much of a impact outside of New York City. Maybe New York State, but outside of New York City.
Oh, I think the impact will be national.
They'll talk about it, but just like they talk about who won Dancing with the Stars. Um, he doesn't have any. The mayor of New York City doesn't have any actual influence on national politics directly. Indirectly, yeah, but not directly. So the state legislatures and the state governors can do things around redistricting, things like that. He can't. You know, um, there are going to be things even where he needs to go to Albany to get funding for his transit and that sort of thing. Like it's
Mhm.
not. These governors' races are much more important. You know, and I think will have a much bigger impact on national politics because they impact groups they have influence, they have actual power to change how we pick certain representatives of Congress.
See, Cuomo is an old school politician. He did it the way many candidates in the past have done it. He even mentioned that he wasn't up to snuff with social media. So he kind of laid back and he really didn't do as much as he could have. And he thought he was a shoo-in. And when he lost and Mandami won, it sent shockwaves. I mean, he was mortified by it. And that's when he started spewing so much hate.
Oh yeah, but the way that Madami wins, and this is my opinion, obviously, but it's not just that he has a social media presence. He's really good at it.
He
He's a
is good
really
at
good
it.
politician. He's very good. Even that question about Israel saying, "Hey, I want to stay in New York." That's a fantastic answer to that question. He's
Right.
he's just a very talented politician. So it's one thing to say, "Hey, I have a YouTube channel, I have a TikTok channel, I can go on to these things." It's another thing to be able to perform as well as he does. And he is a very, very talented politician. Like I said, it's very sad. I remember they said that about Tony Blair. He did a talk to Congress, and they said, he could have been elected president here too. Since he happened to be prime minister out there,
Right.
he was a talented politician, and so I think Mandami. That's the only sad thing is like he can become a senator from New York, and I think that would be great if once he's done being a mayor. But that's kind of where he's that, or being a cabinet secretary. That's kind of where he's capped, and that's unfortunate. Because I think the Democrats really need some good leadership, and he's a fantastic leader for the Democratic Party,
Mhm.
even though he's not really a Democrat. Isn't that weird?
He calls himself a social democrat.
Yes, 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 yes. Well, there's flavors of Democrats, right? So
Right.
so I get where he's coming from.
So so if he wins, is that gonna impact the person in Illinois who's getting AIPAC money?
Yeah, I mean, I don't. I think it might get them to give more money. Might get some people that are on the fence to be get scared and give more. Um, but I don't think. I think the people that gave money already gave money. I don't know if they're going to be able to squeeze more out of that group. And to be very frank, like everybody else, APAC has to pay attention to where they think they could be the most effective with their money. That everybody has limited money, and so I think this will get a few people off the fence. You might get a little bit more dollars, but I don't think there'll be a surge, and I don't think they'll drop off the cliff um, for this candidate.
Mm,
Um, my guess is the people that are from New York might want an avenue to try to fight back if they're upset with Mandami,
mm.
and they might donate. But everybody else, I think, will just look at it as that's what New York did, you know. And so,
So how's your fundraising going?
not great. I haven't been paying attention to it. I'm going to focus on that coming up next. We wanted to focus on getting on the ballot, so we were able to get all the petitions signed and everything down correctly, and we were waiting in line to be first on the ballot. We're going to be put into a lottery with 12 other people who are also able to do that. Since we've got that in, then now's the change over to fundraising. But I really would like to get enough money so I can get my message out. But I'm not looking to make hundreds of thousands of dollars. I think Democrats need to focus on the races that are closer. We will get a Democrat from Illinois 9, right? I'd like to have enough money to get my ideas heard, but I'm not trying to see if I can get so much money that I can dominate other people in the race by outbidding them for TV spots. I'm not I'm not interested in that. I think we need to focus. Democrats need to be laser focused on winning the House back, and maybe for some people it makes more sense to donate in like Christine Bohannon's race in Iowa's first, right? Maybe that makes more sense. Or wait to
Mm.
see who gets it for these swing districts and then go at donate to them. You know?
So I think tomorrow, which is election day, I think there's going to be a line drawn in the sand. I think things might not be the same again. What do you think?
I would hope so. I don't know. Maybe I'm just too tied into Illinois' ninth district race
All right.
to really pay attention to that. I don't think that I will be shocked if Mandami doesn't win. Let's put it that way. So I'm fully expecting him to win. All the polling says that he's going to win. It would be surprising if he didn't. From an outsider's perspective, you see who he's running against. I think I could beat those two. Like Mandami would beat me, but like Cuomo is got his problems, and I think that people will be interested in this. There will be some stories about it. But really, where you're going to see a sea change is if he's successful in New York and his policies that people say would never work, he is able to implement them and they work. If he can do that, then we're going to see a change in the country. But just winning, I don't think that's going to be a big deal. Um, if he loses, I think that would be a big deal. I would be very shocked, and I'd have a lot of questions about election integrity and what happened and where this is at.
Mhm,
I'd be very, very shocked
mhm.
if he lost. So I think winning is sort of already baked in. That I think for people that are outside of New York City, we just assume it's uh, it's going to happen. We'll see. You know, it's definitely gives us something to talk about and something exciting and something that isn't as dour as the government shutdown or something like that, right?
Right, right.
It gives us something to look forward to. And
So,
that even if it's not a huge sea change for the next generation of politicians, it's going to give us a glimmer of hope, and that'll be good. So
okay. So, keep me posted on Illinois 9. If you have any stories or you need a platform, you can always come on Focus on the Candidates.
well, thank you so much. I appreciate it. There's a
Mm,
lot of interest going on in Illinois 9, and I think that it's going to be a great race. And it's amazing because we have so many really good politicians in this race, or candidates in this race, and it's going to be really fun. So I'm just like you're saying, you've enjoyed doing this series. I've really enjoyed being in this race for Illinois 9. It's
So the primary is in March, right?
March 17th. Yeah.
Okay.
Unless we redistrict. If we redistrict in Illinois, we have to go back and get petitions signed again, and then it'll be in June sometime. But let's hope. Fingers crossed we're not redistricting because that would be trying to get signatures in January is a lot different than July. Well, August, right? September,
Right.
you
Right.
know. So,
Exactly. Okay.
eh,
Okay. So we'll talk again. If somebody is interested in um being part of your campaign, making a contribution, being a volunteer, how could they do so?
yeah, the best way is to go to my website at votejustinford.com. You can read my platform, you can volunteer, you can share your story, you can donate. Um, Donations would be great. All of my donations are, I do not have a staff and things like that. Donations go directly to things. We're trying to get money right now to do our palm cards so we can hand it out when we go door knocking, right? Like, so your money will really go somewhere for that. But then even if all you want to do is volunteer, if all you want to do is tell me about what's important to you in the your story section. I'm happy to hear all that stuff. It helps me to become a better campaign, makes my campaign better, makes me a better informed person and politician. And and yeah, I think it would be great. If nothing else, you can at least go to my website and see what you think, and then send me a mail about why you think I'm wrong. So
Okay. So Justin, we'll talk again. You've been listening to Justin Ford, who's a candidate for Illinois 9. I'm Cynthia Pooler. This is Focus on the Candidates. If you like this video, please subscribe to my YouTube channel. Thanks, Justin. Thank you, everybody, for listening. Have a wonderful day.